Welcome back, everyone, to the Nemesis Gaming League. I'm Dronas alongside Ventus for the second match of the night. We, of course, head to the Titan League. Of course, the best of the best, Godfathers versus Nebula. We just saw an 0-2 team in Spitfires get their first W's. Nebula's also 0-2 going against the 1-1 team of the Godfathers. They're also looking for their first win of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope, as a former Nebula player and GM back way in the day, I still hold much love in my heart for some of these players, especially Zinvez and Deny. Both those players are very amazing, and they are rounded out by Brandon, who, was one of those main players for Venganza last season that helped them win the chip. Hopefully, it's just a little groggy start for Nebula, and they're able to bounce back today and get a win. But looking at Godfathers, this team is also pretty impressive. They just added Demetree, which is a player who is very, very good. He was on, I believe, the Bananas a couple seasons ago. That went to the finals and lost. So another really good player that they added onto that team. So we'll see how that works out. But I mean, both very solid teams, and their records don't really reflect their true skill.
Yeah, obviously the Titan League is extremely difficult to get through, and yeah, Nebula it's had a tough start. I still would expect them to try and really light things back up, especially along with Brandon on that roster. I think they can do very well. Demetree being a great addition to the Godfathers, and Godfathers they've had themselves an interesting start as well. I mean, they're 1-1. Both matches went to game 5. They won the first one versus Pinnacle, lost the second one versus the Spartans. So they've already played 10 games out of a possible 10 to start the season, which is incredible in its own right, just showing how close and the depth that the Titan League really has to offer. But this should be a really fun one. I mean, regardless, we're going to see either a team like the Godfathers, they're going to go plus 500, they're going to go 2-1, or Nebula, we're going to see them get their first win of the season. It should be huge no matter what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And when you were talking about, how close Titan League is, I wanted to talk about Zenith real quick because he is on the sheets as one of the lowest sals. I think he's like 18-14 around that range, one of the lowest, but he's been putting up crazy stats in the first week. He was averaging 600 a game. I mean, absolutely crazy stuff, that you're getting out. Crazy value as the third man in that roster. Really, really good, solid work. And it just shows that, like, MMR isn't necessarily everything in Titan League, and even some of these players who are lower salary wise can have huge pop off games. So I mean, we'll see if Zenith is able to kind of show us what he did in week 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if that is the case. We do also have Prev in place of JP for the Godfather, so that'll be another interesting player to keep an eye on is Prev. But game 1 underway. Godfathers versus Nebula. And again, this is one of those matches where I would expect it to be close, but honestly, I think we both know anything can happen here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I might give the slight edge to Nebula just because seeing that they have to replace JP with Prev tonight. I'm not entirely sure how the Godfathers are going to play with the two new additions. It's one thing adding only one person into the rotation, but adding two is definitely something that might throw off the game plan a little bit. So that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Prev and see how he does working into this one as Demetree just fires high. That one could have been locked down, but the fourth defender of the crossbar already stepping in early. Denzi takes liftoff here, not much to work with. Zinvez will get knocked down. Prev looking for something middle, leaves it for Zenith. Good 50 pass, 2 already. Nice back and forth between both sides inside the first minute. Kind of looks like they're both, finding their feet in this series, which would be expected. I mean, there also is, that little bit of history between these two teams, knowing that, the Godfathers eliminated Nebula in the quarterfinals of last season.
Yeah, and I think both Zinvez and Denzi were on that Nebula squad last season, so they definitely have a gripe against Godfathers and want to show out and kind of show that they improved over the off season and show them what they can really do. And a shot there coming out by Denzi, just taking advantage of the defense, just missed rotations there, and a good bump attempt by Zin throwing them off their line, and you know, great way to go up 1-0.
Zenith honestly just dove in a little bit too far for that corner boost. Sometimes, you want to try and take that shiny thing away, and unfortunately could not get back in time. And Nebula were able to pounce. We have seen that the Godfathers get a little bit too far up front early on in this minute and a half. Have been able to rotate back in time, but that time weren't quite able to stabilize, and Nebula were there for it. So first 2 minutes almost gone. Another shot coming out from Brandon will be shut down by Demetree. Brandon looking for another, blocked once more. Denzi can't really get a hold of this one. Still now looking for a bump. It will be taken away. Zin has a carry, puts it middle, trying to get past Demetree all by himself on another save coming from the new addition.
Yeah, and great plays on defense coming out. It looks like there might be an open net there for the Godfathers. Zenith gonna put that one away, and you know, just a misread of the play by Denzi, expecting Brandon, you know, to get a touch on that reset backboard double touch there, and just not able to do so, and it kind of leaves that Nebula rotation out of whack, and Zenith gonna capitalize for that Godfathers to equalize 1-1.
Yeah, it's just one of those quick plays where you put so much faith in a teammate, and if they miss, it can immediately cause everything to crumble, as it did there. And half this game gone here in game number 1, still knotted up 1-1. I would again expect it to stay. I would expect us to see much more of a defensive series here, Ventus. I wouldn't, I'm expecting some highlight plays on offense. It obviously is the Titan League, but I think the defense is what stands tall. But it's going to be the offense getting the spotlight here, as Brandon found Denzi across, and that is a beautiful shot. 81. Prev couldn't keep it out.
Yeah, and it was a disgusting fake by Brandon, just absolutely filthy, you know, faking the first man to open up that space in the midfield. A great pass over to Denzi, and Denzi just able to slot that one away, able to generate so much power. And, you know, it was a great 1-2 play from Denzi and Brandon, but, I mean, Zin has done a lot so far this series as well. As I say that, you know, I spoke into existence. He's going to get another goal off of a pass from Denzi off the sidewall. But Zin has been, you know, kind of the disruptor against this Godfathers. He's going for constant bumps. I believe he's gotten 2 demos already throughout this game number 1, and kind of just been a nuisance to the Godfathers defense, and so he's opened up a lot of these opportunities where Brandon and Denzi can pass like they were to each other. And so, you know, big props to Zin, especially getting that goal there.
Yeah, and we did once again see the Godfathers just pushed up a little bit too far and got caught trying to get back in time. We've seen it already a couple times. I think, 2 of those 3 goals have just been straight up Nebula being able to swiftly counterattack, and Godfather's not ready for it. Got to be able to take control of that. Of course, it is just game number 1. There's still a lot left to be played, and of course, it is just week 2 for the Titan League, and the rest of the leagues it is week 3, but Titan League starts a week later, so it's still very early on in the season. Still a lot of kinks to work out, and we know Godfathers, having to kind of mix up their starting 3 a little bit, so there's always going to be that learning curve, but it's how teams are able to work through it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we constantly see in the Titan League is not super active players among the Titan League. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you see a lot of teams just get on for the matches. A great shot there by Brandon, able to find the back of the net. Denzi kind of running, demo patrol on that one, just looking for the back of the net, kind of pushing Prev into an awkward spot, but Brandon just able to snipe that one in the bottom left corner to give a 4-1 lead. But, I mean, as I was saying with the Godfathers missing player, I mean, that's one thing you constantly see in Titan is, like, sometimes you'll have a star player missing, or one of your players will be having another tournament. At this point, you're looking at the Titan League. A bunch of these guys are 2K. They might be, looking to play for RLCS, bubble players kind of thing. They have their sights maybe set on some higher things, so then they might not be able to make a Monday or Wednesday game if they have other scrims or tournaments that they have. But so it's just always something you got to look forward to, is how teams are going to be able to recover and kind of pivot off of potentially missing a player. So it's definitely something to be interested in.
Yeah, it really is, as Denzi will just get a quick backflip pass. Brandon lobbed it up, and he sent it over the hood of Demetree. Nothing he could really do there, and Nebula have really run away with this first game. And ultimately, Godfathers, we spoke about their defense in the pregame, but it has got to do better here, Ventus.
Yeah, there's a bunch of missed rotations coming out, and we see a little bit overcommitting from all of the players, and on Godfathers, and I'm kind of surprised because I know Demetree as much more of a third man, kind of that solid rock defender, and kind of staying third man. I mean, they get a nice goal there. I say 10 seconds left. I don't really think they're gonna catch up to the 3 goal difference now, but Demetree is like a very very much a consistent third man who is not going to get scored on, and a player who excels in that role. So I'm kind of surprised to see he's not necessarily being that more hard third man and kind of playing that defensive third, as we've seen previously from him. So I'm wondering if that is another reason why the Godfathers have struggled so far this series, but they've just, their rotations have been all out of whack. So hopefully they can clean it up for game number 2.
Yeah, and Nebula, I mean, if they're able to keep this pace up, they very well could go on to take their first series of the season as, a nice win in game number 1 there, but ultimately, you know, Nebulas were doing great. They looked strong. They had their counterattacks. Their defense was in order. Their offense was in order. It just felt like the Godfathers were a little bit weaker coming into that one. It seemed they were a little bit more awkward. You could kind of feel it on the pitch. And now going into game number 2, you got to find some way to fix that. If you do not, we're going to see Nebula do exactly what they did in game number 1, really keep up that offense, keep up the counterattacks, and they're going to try and put up another 5 goals. 5 goals in the Titan League, that's a lot for one game.
Yeah, and it's a lot for Titan League especially. I feel like once you start getting to the higher levels of gameplay, you start, zeroing in, cutting down all of your mistakes, and you really have to earn each and every goal. And Nebula might have earned, I don't know, 2 or 3 of those 5, but I mean they were just capitalizing on a lot of mistakes, and that's something you don't really see too often in the Titan League. So hopefully, I'm praying Godfathers can clean it up and give us a good series, but if this keeps happening, I can see Nebula just pretty much only, capitalizing on the weaknesses, and they don't really have to play super well just to get the win.
Well, we'll have to see game 2 getting underway. Godfathers needing to adapt, and that's just kind of the big question mark as of right now. Nebula, they're just looking to keep doing what they're doing, not having to put too much stress. A nice demo in the midfield from Demetree. Got free reign of this one, tries to set it down, no double. Zenith flies in. Denzi wins another big 50, could not put a shot on with low boost. There was another look at a swift counterattack. That one will be cut short. Good 50 from Zinvez, trying to work his way middle. A little bit of awkwardness still on the defensive side for Godfathers, and Denzi punishes Nebula up 1-0 early.
Yeah, and you see the Godfathers, 2 players on the back wall right on top of each other, making it super awkward, and you don't really see who is going for that ball in the rotation, and it's just really difficult, and it just leaves those openings for Nebula. It's another goal that like they capitalize on, but I feel like it's a misrotation and a mistake from Godfathers more than Nebula really showing their prowess. So I mean, again, it's one of those things where Nebula's capitalizing off of the defensive mistakes, but if Godfathers can cut down on that, then I might lean back into Godfather's favor, that their offense can look a lot better if they just clean up the rotations.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is, and we've said it before with some teams, is some teams, it might not be their night, and rather than their opposition beating them, sometimes it's just a team beating themselves. And at the Titan League level, with the defense we've seen from Godfather so far, it does look like they are just beating themselves at some point. That first goal was a perfect example. The shot wasn't, incredible. It was more so just an awkward rotation on the defensive side. And speaking of, we see it a little bit on the other side from Nebula, as Demetree will just go the full length of the field. No one for an early challenge, and then Zin and Denzi all over each other, and that one just own goals.
Yeah, it looks like it was a bit of a messed up pre-flip on the side of Zinvez. He was just trying to pre-flip it to the corner and kind of get that catch, and he pre-flipped a little too early, and so it threw him past the ball in the solo play of Demetree and made it super difficult for Denzi to read the play, and so he had to kind of pre-jump the shot on net from Demetree, and Demetree's super smart play, just taking it slow, holding his flip until he absolutely has to use it just to throw the defense even more awkward. And, a great showing for the Godfathers offense in game number 2.
We'll see if they can keep it up. Zenith takes flight, doesn't have a lot of boost to work with. Prev, no touch here. Denzi will sweep it away, gets 50. Brandon towards the sidewall again. Demos being traded by either side. Maybe looking for Prev. Denzi spawning just in front of the ball. Now Zinvez will clear it out. It's a 3v1 on the other side. Brandon, long range shot. Zenith, low boost still makes the save. Prev will boom away the follow-up now. A quick beat through the corner. Here come the Godfathers. Zinvez will send it right back out to the midfield, and a miss from Zenith will really force the Godfathers to backpedal into their own side. Another good 50 will fall to Prev. One touch out. We'll leave it for Zenith. Plenty of room through the midfield. Another miss coming through. Zinvez to Denzi. It's a 3v. No one, and Nebula reclaim the lead.
Yeah, and you see that misflip from Zenith is so disastrous for the Godfathers. Demetree and Prev. Prev was cheating upfield looking for a pass. Demetree was cheating upfield to go for demos, and I believe he got one. And so it was all on Zenith to make a touch. He just couldn't get it. It's one of those things where he's beating himself. He has shown he's a great player, but maybe it might not be his game. He'll show up again for game number 3, but for game number 2, just a couple too many mistakes on his end.
Yeah, and it was again one of those situations where there was so much room to work, and it looked like the Godfathers had a chance to take themselves the lead, but that one little mistake, and suddenly you're once again just not in the right spot. And Godfathers, they got to be able to pick it back up. They got 90 seconds to try and tie this thing back up. Brandon, big clear out. Zenith is there, soft touch, now gets bumped by a teammate. Denzi fires wide. Prev will send it towards the far corner. Zin next in line, charges at middle. This could be a nice counterattack for the Godfathers, and it interrupted by Brandon. Immediately tries to pinch at middle, will be cut down by Prev, but approaching the final minute of regulation. Nebula looking to extend the lead, and an own goal up high from Demetree will do just that.
Yeah, and that's so tough for Godfathers, because, you have to contest the double touch there by Denzi, and, you're expecting Denzi to put it a little bit more onto the sidewall and go for a double lower due to that contesting, but he puts it just right in the top of the corner, off the backboard that Demetree can't reach it, and unfortunately he's just going to land back into it off of the bounce off the backboard. And that's one that I don't want to put too much credit in, but unfortunate play for the Godfathers, kind of putting game number 2 further out of their reach. But you don't want to count them out just yet.
And there's still going to be a few chances left, but starting to run out of time here, approaching that 30-second mark. Prev, one touch, looking to try and set up Zenith. That he will. Zenith trying to send it across to Demetree, but he's demoed. Now this one up from Denzi off ceiling, just looking to take some time. Gives it over to Brennan towards the backboard. Demetree, a nice save out, but too much time ticking off the clock here for the Godfathers. Nebula not letting them breathe here late in game number 2, not giving any chances for some more offense to develop, more bumps, more innocent challenges, as this one will fly wide. Zenith has a chance, fires wide. Demetree gets outsped by Denzi, and that'll be it for game number 2. Nebula hunting down a sweep for their first series win of season 12.
Yeah, and Nebula looked good. I can't even dish too much on Nebula. I've talked about them not really earning these opportunities, but they're forcing these misrotations on the side of Godfathers, and the disruptions from the demos and all of the bumps from Zinvez and Denzi have really, it seems like, gotten into the Godfathers' heads, and so they're constantly paranoid about these bumps and demos coming in, and it might be throwing them off a little bit too much, throwing them off their rotations, just leaving these opportunities open to Nebula. And Zinvez and Denzi, kind of that 1-2 duo right now. 3 assists from Zinvez, all 3 goals to Denzi. It seems like they're firing on all cylinders right now, and they look like they can't be stopped.
Yeah, now it's up to the Godfathers. They gotta win 3 in a row, which is obviously easier said than done, especially, in the momentum of a reverse sweep. Your back is against the wall going into game number 3. You got to somehow turn it around and then keep up that momentum for 2 more games. But going into game 3, this will be a very interesting tell. I think, the first minute is going to tell us a lot of what we need to know. If they're going to be able to bounce back, they got to get it done early. I don't think they want to let this one stay close to late. Otherwise, I think the nerves are going to get there a little bit and just going to favor Nebula more and more.
Yeah, and we've seen some mistakes coming out from Zenith that are uncharacteristic. I mean, Demetree's been pretty solid, but we haven't really talked about Prev much. Kind of been that, you know, non-existent player and not really one that's shown great presence on the field. So I might be turned to look out. Oh, this one actually is going to find the back of the net. It looks like it's just another long ball misrotation that Nebula is going to catch. It looks like Prev going a little bit too aggressive for the bomb. Zenith playing way too far up his third man. It's just going to find the back of the net, and not looking good for Godfathers. And I'm really hoping Prev can step it up in this game number 3. He hasn't really been much of a presence on the field, so hopefully he's going to be there.
Yeah, but I think Denzi wants a little bit more of the spotlight as he has put away the last 5 goals for Nebula. Got all 3 last game and now has gotten 2 in the first 20 seconds as Demetree looked to be a bit of an own goal there. I think that would have been out off the post, but regardless, Nebula 2-0 up in the first 18 seconds. And, I said Ventus that this one's going to be telling very early on. And do you think that's the tell right there? Do you think it might already be over?
I mean, from the way it's looking, I might have to be inclined to agree with you there. Giving up 2 goals in the first 30 seconds is already difficult enough. Now you have to add on the fact that they're already down 2-0 in the series, and we're already seeing the same mistakes coming out from Godfathers that we saw in the previous games, where they're too aggressive in the rotations. They're not finding each other. They're making the mistakes and leaving kind of opportunities like that to Denzi. Gonna get the skim double touch to give them a 3rd goal. A great pass from Brandon, right to Denzi. Denzi, a great first touch, able to put that one perfectly to himself on the backboard. It looks like Zinvez was also pre-jumping just in case Denzi missed it. But Denzi gonna find the back of the net, and 3 goals now with only a minute of gameplay is very telling.
Oh no, and yeah, now we're just seeing mechanics and mind games from Nebula as Brandon sped it up, slowed it down, and Prev just had no chance as Brandon will get on the board after, again, Denzi picked up a hat trick inside the first minute. It is 4-0, and the Godfathers, this is not going good, and maybe another look off the kickoff. No, this one will be shut down by Prev, but Nebula, they are in more than a good spot here.
Yeah, and at this point you could kind of say that Nebula might be trying to stat pad now, just trying to get their points per game up, or maybe helping their fantasy owners a little bit, for the Nemesis fantasy managers out there. Hopefully one of your players is Denzi. It looks like he's having a stellar week right now with 2 hat tricks in the series, and we're just all this good play coming out from the side of Nebula. It seems like it's not the Godfather's day. I'm super interested to see another another goal coming out for Nebula. A demo just opens the path for Brandon. I'd be interested to see how this Godfather's team plays with JP back, and I want to see how they are with their full roster, because it seems like there's just a lot of miscommunication there between Godfathers. This is a new roster. Demetree just got added as well, so it is most likely their first time playing, especially with Prev. But I am still interested. I think Godfathers can still be a great team. They're showing signs that they can be a great team, but they just need to fix their team play aspect, which easier said than done, right? But it's something that they're going to have to show that they can do in order to show that they belong in the playoffs of the Nemesis Titan.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is this series, unfortunately, does look like it might just end here in 3. I don't know if the Godfathers are going to be able to get back 5, maybe 6, as Brandon up high will be shut down by Demetree. But regardless, the Godfathers, they need to use this as a learning opportunity. I mean, this is the toughest loss they have faced. Prev, look there, could not put a shot on. Again, the Godfathers being 1-1, they won a game 5 and lost a game 5. This is easily the least competitive series they've been a part of to start this season, and they got to figure out what really went wrong and what they can do better. Demetree will get one on the board here, and there's still 2 minutes, and 4 goals in 2 minutes is doable, but I mean, just knowing the track we're on, I don't know about it.
Yeah, and it seems like, Nebula kind of playing around with their food, going for
Yeah.
just double pre-jumps off of each other, kind of thinking to themselves, yeah, we have already won this game, we've already won the series. I'm not gonna take too much into that Godfather's goal. I think if, Godfathers score another one, Nebula will kind of just be like, oh, okay, we just gotta stop pre-jumping each other and stop, kind of absolutely trolling, and we should be able to hold them off for just long enough to win the game. So, even though Godfathers do get a consolation goal, we'll see if they're able to continue off of this one goal.
I mean, Prev will get himself a nice little 1v2 here. I mean, I wish we could have seen more of these plays. Unfortunately, just at this point, it doesn't seem like much behind it, knowing the deficit we're at. But got a mind game, got the 50 on the goal line. That's a great way to pick up another. Unfortunately, that'll just cut down the lead to 3. And Nebula, I mean, as you said, Ventus, I think they're still just very comfortable, not trying all too hard. I think they're kind of going through the motions here to kind of try and finish this third game. But right now, I mean, they're looking super strong, and obviously the offensive performance from Denzi has been incredible. Brandon has been a great piece, as well as, we've seen Zin being a great playmaker as well, and I'm really interested to see if this kind of Nebula team can stay in the works for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I think that they might have missed Brandon for a series or so. I was looking at the stats earlier, and I didn't see his name up there for any of the stats, which is really uncharacteristic. And
Okay.
I didn't see him up there for games played either. So I'm thinking that they might have been missing him for at least one of the series last week, and that might be a big reason why they've started out 0-2. Because I mean, as we can see, Nebula looked pretty dominant so far. And I think that that might be a big reason as to why. Obviously, it might be speculation. It might just be blown smoke. But it's something to look at, especially with how well Brandon this game. 715 points with 2 goals, 2 assists, 2 saves, kind of all around player. So hopefully they Nebula can continue to show that they're the team to beat and climb up those power rankings, as it looks like this clock is going to hit 0 and Nebula will officially take the sweep, and a dominant sweep at that.
Yeah, and that's a great way to get their first victory of Nemesis Season 12. And it really just was a standout performance from all 3 of these players. Of course, Denzi, I mean, the offensive weapon could just not be stopped, and everything seemed to be clicking for Nebula. And then, of course, on the other side for Godfathers, everything seemed a little more awkward. And obviously, we kind of expected that going in, but I think we really saw it being displayed on the field.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they were just. I mean, I said it once, I'll say it again, firing on all cylinders. I mean, it just seemed like they were catching Godfathers completely out of rotation. They were causing the misrotations from bumps and demos from Zin, and Zin really picked it up in that last game. But definitely gonna be a team to look out for. Especially being 0-2. It is a long season, and we might still see them claiming one of these top seeds. But if they are a lower seed, that's one that you do not want to be playing against if you're one of the top seeds. Usually the lower seeds are not as strong, player wise or team wise, and so usually those are more easily decided with the high seeds versus the low seeds. But I mean, if Nebula comes in as like a 5 or 4 seed, that's gonna be a really tough for a 2 seed or a 3 seed to play. Like,
Yeah, I think when playoffs come around in the Titan League, no one is safe. No one is safe.
yeah, yeah, that might be a great statement. I just think that the Titan League can be so swayed by availability or who's able to show up to game days a lot of the time, that some of these teams that are lower seeds who haven't had the greatest availability, those players show up for the playoffs, and then it's a completely new revamped team that you have not seen at all this season, and it completely throws some teams off. I mean, the Infernos of the world could be completely upset. I mean, Blizzards looked really good. They might be completely upset. I mean, the Godfathers shown that like JP not being there is very important to their team. So I mean, if JP isn't there for a lot of the Godfathers games and then comes back for playoffs, and they somehow are the sixth seed or however many teams make the playoffs, I mean that might be a tough team to play against. And then you're talking about the one seed playing against a team like that. So then it's like it's going to be really interesting to see the playoffs for the Titan League.
Yeah, it will be indeed. But once again, Nebula, they pick up their first victory of season 12 Godfathers. They will drop down to 1-2 in their record. We are going to take a quick break before our final match of the night in the Challenger League, Dissolved versus Drakes. Don't go anywhere.